Hi everyone, in today's video I wanted to just talk a little bit about Logic Pro's Drummer. Now Drummer is a drum synthesizer specific to Logic Pro, and it kind of sounds like it, right? Drummer. So what Drummer allows you to do is it allows you to create drum loops or drum regions that are really easily changeable and creatable without needing to know all the technical stuff about drumming and programming your notes in. So how do we get Drummer up in the first place? If you've already created your project, just come to this plus and then come across to Drummer. And if you've just started a new project, then just skim across here to Drummer and make sure that it's highlighted blue. Then you should see this genre subheading here. Now what this is asking you is it's going, well, what kind of track are you producing? What kind of sound are you going for? So I'm going for an electronic sound, so more of a kind of club kind of genre. But if you're going for like maybe trap, then you'd go for hip hop, and if you're going for rock, you'd go for rock, right? Now the main difference is that when you choose rock, you tend to get an acoustic sounding drum kit, because that is what is usually heard in the rock genre. Whereas if you go for like hip hop, you're going to get more of a drum machine kind of sound with those 808 kind of kicks and that kind of iconic hi-hat sound. So I'm going for electronic. So just click on that, select whichever one you want, and then come over to create. Okay, and then you'll get this yellow region appear. And you can make this bigger or smaller. Just click and drag left for smaller, right for longer. And this is longer in duration or in bars if you're going along the top. Okay, so first things first, we've got a heading, a set of different names down here. These are beat presets. So let's have a quick listen and I'll just cycle through a few of those. So this is the default that comes up, which is the glow stick preset. Okay, so I just clicked through a few of those there. So, and I think some of those are quite different to each other, right? So if you just want to, you just want to create something really quickly, just create a drummer track like we did, and then come in and you can just click on one of these presets and get rid of this editor window. You can just click on this processes, by the way, or press E, and you're kind of done. And you can just click on, Command R to repeat, or copy and paste, Command C, Command V, and you're kind of done, right? But I would definitely encourage you to play around with other settings here, just to make your drums more unique to your project, right? So with that in mind, we've got this next little section here, which is you'll notice we've got loud, complex, soft, and simple, and then this yellow node here in the middle. And you can click on this and move this around, right? And if you're looking really closely at this region here, as I do this, we get more of these sort of white triangles, right? Now that basically represents more notes. So if I move this all the way over to the top right here, this is the complex side and the loud side. So we're going to get a loud and complex drum pattern. If I move this node all the way over to the left and keep it at the top, we get a loud drum pattern, but a simple kind of pattern. Okay, so let me play through these a few times. Likewise, if we go down to soft, it gets quieter, and if we go all the way to the top, it's louder. And you can go somewhere in the middle, which is directly in the middle is a mixture of all of these things. Okay, so I'll just play this through, and you'll get the idea as to what this does by listening. Okay, so I think you probably get the idea there, right? So as you move this around, it changes the loudness and the complexity. And this is a really helpful thing because it's more in tune with how an actual performer and like a real drummer would do this, which is in part the reason that the synthesizer is called Drummer, right? Now, if we move over to this right section here, this is the different elements of the drum kit. It's like an instrument pane, if you like. So we've got the kick, drum, snare, clap sound, shaker, hi-hats, and so on. Okay. Now, if they're grayed out, it means they won't play in this region. Okay. And if they are highlighted yellow, they will play. So if I take all of these but the kick drum out and play this from the beginning, we're only really going to hear kick drum. Okay, now if I add in the hi-hats, the crash cymbal, and the snare, we get all of those in this region as well. Okay, so really helpful. So if you decide you don't actually want, any kick, you can take that right out. So a really helpful, really quick and easy way of adding in different parts of the drum kit itself. Now, if we come over to these sliders here, this is actually the variation pane. And if you're ever unsure as to what anything does in Logic, just come over to the little question mark here, and you can hover over, and it tells you what it does. So it's a pattern variation slider. So if we move this over to the right, we get more or a different variation of the cymbals and shakers. And if we move it over to the left on the kick, we get a different variation for the kick. Okay. And then on the final section, we've got fills. Now, fills are like where the drummer gets a little bit of freedom to just, create a little bit more variation in a track. So if we come over to this section here, you can see here, this is a typical place at the end of a phrase or a bar, or in this case, a region. That's the kind of place you normally get fills. So that is a fill there. Now, if you want to move this pan pot all the way around to the right, you get more of these fills, and if you move it all the way to the left, you get none at all. Okay, so really a really helpful, really quick way of creating, a realistic sounding drums. Now, one side note is I would suggest that you play around with adding in different elements as you go along. Compositionally, if you kind of take this region here and we add in everything from the beginning and then put everything to complex and add all the fills in, you've kind of given the listener everything all in one go, right? So I would, generally speaking, you'd probably want to avoid this, but if this is what you want, that's great, do that. But a lot of certainly like dance music or just music generally, you start with not the full picture, as it were. So for example, let's go ahead, I'll delete this region. I'm just going to shorten this one down then. If we make this kind of simple to begin with, and then repeat the region, now we've got two regions, and this is a good side tangent. If you're highlighted on one region and you change this down here, it only affects this one region, right? And you can see that because it's got louder. The phrase there, the region's got louder. We can see that in the audio representation here, right? But it hasn't changed this one. But if I select both of these by clicking and holding down Shift, and then I change this, it changes both of them, right? So just bear that in mind when you're playing around with this. Okay, so compositionally, then we want to start, maybe a little less complex, and work into something a bit more complex, right? So all I'm doing here is I'm repeating regions, which is Command R. So selects it. If you highlight your region, so click on your region, Command R, it repeats that same thing, and then you can edit this one a little bit more. So we'll go for the last one. It's going to be really complex. Add in everything we've got, and then add in a few instruments at a time. Okay, so starting on this first region, we're quite soft, quite simple, because we're over towards simple, and we're quite down the bottom towards soft. And then on the next region, we're getting a bit more complex, a bit louder. We've added in a few more elements, so the shaker and the hi-hats. The next one, we've got shaker, hi-hats, claps, snare, and the kick drum. And we're a little bit more complex here on this node. And then for the last region, we're much more complex. I've given everything, all of the elements of the drum kit are added in. And this, if you can see this, we start from quite small here on the waveform, and it gets progressively bigger, right? Which is going to make things a little bit more interesting. There's a bit more variation going on, rather than starting with this kind of very complex region at the beginning. So let's hear that in context. So I've got just a synthesizer loop here that I made. And hopefully this gives you a better idea as how we can use drummer sort of more in context. And there we go. So you can really see how you can quickly, create something that feels like it's going somewhere, right? This loop stays the same. We just loop 4 bars 4 times, and we've done something kind of similar with this drummer, with these drummer regions. But because we're slightly changing it each time, it makes it feel like we're moving towards something more exciting. It's building up, right? So yeah, there you go, guys. Just a kind of quick intro to it, really. There is some more stuff you can do with this, and you can sort of transfer these regions into different drum synthesizers and stuff like that. But yeah, hopefully this helps, and yeah, thanks for watching.